Good evening and welcome to tonight's Fireside Chat. Tonight is the last Fireside Chat I'm going to give. I started these at the beginning of the pandemic for two reasons. One was simply a way for us to stay connected, a way for me to talk about things that were going on in the world, the church, and our lives when we weren't being together in person. It was a place of, instead of doing others activities that we usually do, like Bible study. And the second reason was it was a way for me to have something to do, quite frankly. When the pandemic started, I searched for the way to fill my time. I couldn't go visit people, attend community meetings, teach Bible study, have youth group, or a whole host of other things that we used to have going on. So I started doing these just to, quite frankly, as a way to keep myself busy. And I have really enjoyed them. I've enjoyed talking to you each week. I especially enjoyed last summer and fall when I did these at homes of people in our congregations on their lawns or in front of their lakes. And I hope that those people will have me out for another time, even though I'm not going to be doing these. I thank all those people out there who told me that they enjoyed watching these videos, people who said that helped them keep connected to me or the church. But it's time for something new. It's time to kind of look ahead and reevaluate as we come out of the pandemic, and especially my schedule. I'm looking about how it will change, and I just don't know if there's room for fireside chats. For example, we started doing this Tuesday night Bible study on Zoom during the pandemic, and it's been very successful. People who normally can't go to Bible study because they live too far away have started coming to that Bible study. However, in non-COVID times, my Tuesday nights were usually filled with community meetings that I would go to. And I really want to return to doing that work in our community that I was doing pre-pandemic. But I also want to keep the Bible study. So I'm hoping that I can move that Bible study till Wednesday nights when we normally have fireside chats, and go to my community meetings on Tuesday. So it's just showing that as we come out of the pandemic, we're reevaluating what we're doing and why we're doing it. And that's kind of what I want to talk about tonight. Last week, I talked about the spiritual nature of our return, and of course, that's the most important thing I want us to think about. But the other side is kind of the practical nature of our return. In all areas of our lives, the pandemic has made us do a little shift. And I've heard stories from people in our congregation, for example, who, been working at home this whole time and who will plan on continuing work at home even as things go back to quote-unquote normal. And this is certainly true of the way that we've done things in our church. I've learned so much in COVID times about technology, about its limitations, and about the ways that it can help us to reach new people with God's love and grace. I think that the word that we should be thinking about and using during this time is hybrid. That we're going to have to be more of a hybrid church. We're going to go, of course, back to having things in person together. There's some things that we need to do in person with one another. For example, serving at the Friendly Kitchen. That's something we really can't do on Zoom. Even though we've been doing it to a lesser degree, we're going to go back to our full-scale production of that. But I'm thinking of ways that our ministry can be enhanced through using the tools of technology that we've discovered during the pandemic. And I want to especially thank our Bishop, Jim Hazelwood. He had an excellent podcast with the author Dave Dubrot, who wrote a book about this. And it just helped me to think about these issues. So tonight I want to give a couple examples of ways that we're going to be a hybrid church post-COVID-19. And the first way is in our worship. We are, of course, going to go back to in-person, in our building, worship. I know that many of you have missed that. I've spoken many times about how much I've missed it. And as I preach as we gather together on Sunday, there's simply no substitute for us being together and singing, kneeling at the Lord's table, enjoying each other's company, having the Spirit move between us. However, we will continue to live stream our worship. And because of a very generous gift from someone in our congregation, we are going to be installing a Cameron system that will allow us to live stream our normal every Sunday worship at 10 o'clock with our choir and everything else that we usually have. It'll be live streamed on our website. This will allow people who miss worship in person to still participate. I mean, the most obvious example of that is shut-ins, but there's other examples too. And just for one other example, another example is confirmation. I make being in worship an expectation of our confirmation program. I expect that kids who are going through confirmation will be in worship. However, I'm also well aware that many families are not in worship in Sundays a majority of the time. Why? Well, the reasons are there's many reasons: sports, family obligations, travel, work, or just too tired from a long work week. I get all that, etc. But now, since we're going to be live streaming, there's really no excuse for missing worship, because you can watch it any time. You don't have to be here at 10 a.m. on Sunday, although I hope you are. You can watch it at 6 p.m. Sunday night or 7 p.m. Tuesday night. There's also been people who've been watching our live stream who are not necessarily members of our congregation, but they're interested. For example, one person from Puerto Rico watches our live stream almost every week. We know we have a longer reach with the live stream, and thanks to our very generous donors, we're going to keep that going. Another example is Zoom meetings, and I'm hoping that we keep some of them. Not because I love Zoom, I actually don't really like it that much, but because I know that it makes it easier for people to participate. You could serve on a committee even though you live 45 minutes away, because you're not driving in to Concord during those times. And lots of people in our congregation don't live in Concord. I could see that some people still might meet in person while other people are zooming into that meeting, or that committees simply decide it's better off for them to continue the Zoom meetings. As I already mentioned, the Tuesday night Bible study that we started on Zoom, I'm keeping that. And we'll be bringing back our in-person Monday afternoon Bible study. I know many people enjoyed that. I really love that. I missed that. Our Sunday school, we haven't really talked about it too much, but perhaps we will continue to make those videos that we make it every Sunday morning, because there's lots of kids that can't get here, for families, again, for various reasons. There's lots of things that we're going to be thinking about and deciding what's worth keeping, what's worth changing. How are we going to be a hybrid church, doing things in person and also online? And what is amazing to me is that, quite frankly, before COVID, I would have never considered any of this. I wouldn't have even agreed to it. I wouldn't have agreed to a Zoom meeting, not just because I didn't know what Zoom was at the time, but because I thought everything in church had to happen in person. If you know me, you know I love people. I love being in a room with people. It was actually one of the struggles that I had with the pandemic, because I couldn't be around people as much. However, I see now the ways in which this technology is not a hindrance, but rather can enhance our ministry. I see that it does not take away from anything, only makes everything more accessible. Another good example is our giving. During the pandemic, we had many more people start to give online. And I want to encourage people out there to continue that practice of giving online. If you're here in person, you give, great, no problems. But it's just as great as if you give online. And I realize that all of this is a drawback for some people. There's definitely a technology gap in our congregation. There's some people in our congregation that don't even own a computer. I would have never thought that to be true. It kind of made me go, oh. And there are other people who just struggled for various reasons with using the technology. People who couldn't figure out how to make the Zoom work, or didn't like watching worship on the live stream, or aren't part of Facebook, or don't like it. And for those people, I want to say, don't be worried, because of course we'll still be having lots and lots of things that don't require you to use technology. Actually, this is a beautiful thing about the hybrid thing, is that we have something for both people. And that's why I want us to start thinking about that word in terms of our ministry. Hybrid ministry. It allows both things to work for us. It allows us to grow our ministry, reach more people with the good news of Jesus Christ. I'm looking kind of excited and looking forward to this work ahead. I'm looking forward to thinking together about all the ways that we will continue to be God's people in this time and place. And I'm looking forward, of course, to being back together in person, but also looking forward to the ways in which God is moving among us to help us to continue to be God's people in the world. Well, just a couple of things I've been thinking about this week. thanks again for all those who have watched these and all your continued support in this ministry. And may God continue to bless you.